This is Frank J. Avella with Awards Daily. Switzerland's international Oscar entry is Carmen Jacquier's audacious feature debut Thunder, set in 1900 in a remote Swiss village that centers on a 17-year-old girl who is summoned home from a nunnery to help work the land. The teen soon discovers disturbing truths about her sister's fate and begins her own spring awakening. Welcome, Carmen.
Thank you so much.
Carmen, it's an astonishing film, honestly. It's bold.
Wow.
Yes. I congratulations for firstly. I
Thank you.
wanted to ask you what you get asked, I'm sure, always. Where did the idea for Thunder initially come from?
I realized now that I finished the film and that I shared the film with the audience that I think I was really looking for this powerful ancestor. I wanted to create something, like history have tell at school on a certain way, but then you realize that there is much more older people and lives who were never told by history, and farmers, for example, women in general. So I had to go through this, through my researches, finding something about my own family also, and just to get to this lives of women farmers, really strong, powerful people with full of feelings. And I think I wanted to create this ancestor, this new ancestor that I have never seen before in cinema.
It's interesting because the film takes place over 100 years ago, but I got the feeling that in many parts of the world it could be set today.
Sure, I had this. It was a miracle because my grandmother gave me the diaries from my great grandmother. She was living at this time in this area, and I realized that, like, through her words, really simple words, through her life, which was so different than my life, we were so connected. So I had to find this balance between her story or this fiction I wanted to create from her, and also something connected to me, to today, to the young people today. So it was this balance between, between the past and the present.
There's so many themes that you take on, but I want to focus for a second on you're zeroing in on the teen years, because it's a really important time where you're trying to figure yourself out and who you are as a sexual being. I was reminded of, I don't know if you're familiar with Spring Awakening, the novel and the musical, but I wanted you to discuss that a little bit about, focusing on these teens.
Yeah, at this time we didn't call them teenagers, for example, because you were a child and then an adult, and you had some strong rituals to pass from the child to an adult. And but then I have some traces that still you had this moment where you were not really a child anymore, and you had some new feelings coming, and also with all the contradictions or of your religious educations, you couldn't really maybe sometimes go through your ideas and explorations. So I mean, it's a moment in life where you're so there is so many contradictions between your education, where you come from, and where you want to go, and you don't really know, but you have to debuild everything. You have to build a new identity, and sometimes you have to pass through this hate for your family and your environment, and it's also a way to grow. You need to grow, you need to take a distance with your parents, with your education, especially at this time. So I was really obsessed about this creativity of those young people, to feel what they wanted to explore.
You also examine small town repression. In this instance, the notion of Catholic repression. I grew up Catholic, so I can understand a little bit about that. The idea that you must be God-fearing and pious, otherwise somehow the devil's going to take over. Can you speak a little bit about faith in the film and your own faith, if you would?
You know, I asked for a baptism when I was maybe 12 years old to my parents because I wanted to do my first communion, and I was a huge believer. So I really had the feeling I did this travel, this journey through my own faith. Means I missed something when I was a child. I wanted to find something, and I realized I was connected to things, but I didn't had words. I didn't had explanation about it. So I was exploring, and I went through this religion courses. Then I forced my parents to follow me in this way, even they were not connected to this. And then later, when I was a teenager, I had much more questions than I had answer. Until then, I had questions, but they could answer to my questions, and at one point they couldn't. It was this moment where I realized, okay, so my faith can be free outside of a church, and I can have my own research, and it's about questioning life. It's about transcendence. It's about connecting yourself to the others and to yourself to know who you are. So I was looking for that through the film also, and it's also why I try to work with this connection in between this death sister and the sister who's totally alive but who learned a lot from the journey of her sister.
You know, that there, I've seen 55 now of the international features, and there seems to be a theme running through many of them, which is that the punishment for women that deviate, whether from society or from religion, is extreme as opposed to men. And that's something I think we see in the film too, is how, you know, women need to keep their place, and the minute that they don't, you know, I what happened to the sister, for instance?
Yeah, this is like a reality, a really sad and difficult reality. But I think the film is also talking about all those young people or those young men who needs also to deliberate themselves from injunctions, because they are also full of fears. They want to be part of the group, be part of their own society, so they change their behaviors to be recognized. And then they also are like really full of sadness and full of obscurity, and you can also follow this into the film. So that was really important, that for sure the punishment is against women, but then the punishment is also against the young men. But they have to, yeah, it's what they have to wear for the rest of their life.
Well, and let's talk about that a bit, because of these beautiful scenes of exploration that are in the film with the 14s. And you're not afraid to, you know, go into the queer aspect of that either, which I applaud you for. Could you speak a little bit about what your idea was there, and also, you know, filming with these four wonderful actors?
Yeah, I think I really I wanted to capture the first kiss from the origin of the word. I wanted to try to offer to the audience the feeling that it's the first kiss who ever had in this place. So that was really to go back to this original. Um, I, I don't know. It's not naivete, but
Naivete?
maybe, yeah, but maybe it's about just like a pure moment of exploration. So that was the huge part, I mean, for me to work with the actor and the actress, because we couldn't learn, we couldn't do rehearsal, we couldn't, I mean, we had to do it for just one time, for the first time, and they had to go back to this first time they had, you know. So I think finally the connection with the nature, the landscapes, the mountains, the insects, the everything around us helped us to work on those sequences. Yeah, the intimate sequences.
And then you marry like this notion of exploring one's sexual being, sexual nature, with getting closer to God, with this link to God's love, which is also fascinating.
Yeah, we are connected to faith and to God with our bodies. It's just not with our intellectual. We are. I mean, we are bodies, and religion had sometimes. I mean, from my education in the Catholic religion, it was to disconnect myself to the body, but to embrace the body of the Christ, for example. So for me, it was also sometimes full of contradictions, and I was like, yeah, but I'm full in my body, and it's where I feel so connected with Jesus Christ, for example, with his story, or with the possibility to connect with something bigger than me. And it's through my body, it's through my sense. So it was really important for me to work with that, to try to find a way to film the actors, the young actors, to connect them to this spirituality and to a death body, which is the body of innocent, but like a light spirit.
And can you speak a little bit about casting Lilith, and also the three boys who are honestly remarkable?
So Lilith was, she already made few short films and one feature film. And we did a huge casting between Switzerland and France. And finally, we went through agencies and we found her on an agency. And the first time I've met her, I knew she will be someone who could bring me to Elizabeth. She had something in her, was so deeply connected to Elizabeth that I even couldn't imagine it. So I mean, she was the connection between Elizabeth and me, and so she finally found her own Elizabeth. She was writing during the shooting all day long. She was creating her what she had in mind, because it's a lot of sequences where she's not talking but just thinking. And she was, yeah, it was really great to work with her. I learned so much. And also with the three young men, for them it was the first time. Two of them didn't had any experiences in cinema or theater or everything, and I think they inspired me a lot for the role, because they were so sweet young men, capable to talk about everything, capable to think about who they are, and like with something I think I didn't experimented from my generation of young men. They had some freedom, really, with their body and the possibility to explore, and the friendship between men and women, which was really important for me, because I wanted to tell a story about love and friendship, something, in between. And so yeah, they really also bring a lot of them into the characters, into the film.
Could you elaborate a little more on filming those sequences? Because there isn't much dialogue often, and yet what you capture, with just body movement and facial reactions and framing, is quite remarkable. And I'm guessing much of that was not scripted.
I mean, all of them were scripted, but like for the intimate sequences, um, they knew that they could say stop at any moment. They knew they were not obliged of everything, but we were working before the shooting. And also I worked with an actor, dancer, who came and work with me and with them. I mean, for me, the most important was to create experiences in between them. Like this, they will trust them, then they will trust the others. We had to create a group, a real group, not just for the film, but for the life outside of the shooting. So I worked with someone, with this actor and dancer, and we tried to find some rituals before the shooting. For example, to dance for 3-4 hours together imagine it's morning, you're in the small village in the mountains in Switzerland, and you're dancing for 4 hours, and then you go out on the street of this village, and you're in front of people coming from the village, and they are looking at us like if we were super weird, because we just had this pure connection moment. And then you go out and you realize what is a group is about. It's about this special connection, physical connection, tensions in between the bodies. And so we did a lot of rituals. We went through the river, we went to sing to like close to the river, we went to the forest together. It was to create like a memory, a commune memory together. Then they will also be like in trust during the shooting and during the intimacy sequences. So, but then, for example, we had someone said at one point, I don't want to do this like this anymore. And so we had to reinvent the scene, and we had to reinvent the choreography of the scene. And that was totally fine, because finally they knew what the story was about. They knew what was the sequence, what the sequences were telling. So they knew also where they can go. It was, I don't know how to explain it more precisely, but we worked before to be ready for every scenes.
Very, very interesting. I have to say that the movie felt so fresh, despite being a period piece. I thought of Jane Campion's Power of the Dog for some reason. And I wanted to ask you about capturing the period. It must have been both fun and daunting.
I love doing researches. So for me, it was, I think, one of the most exciting part of creating this film was to read, to meet people, to try to find the truth in every detail, for the clothes, for the house, for the colors and everything. And then at one point I realized, because I was with like old people talking about their parents and grandparents, because I had so many questions, like, but how they were washing themselves, at which frequency, for what. And I had like thousand and thousand of questions. But then I realized that they all disagree. They couldn't find one answer. So at this moment I realized, okay, it will be a fiction. I cannot tell you how it was exactly. I have some proof, I have some traces, but it's also who wrote the proof, who wrote the traces. It's the historians. It's not the farmers themselves. So I need to be free, and I need to connect to the feelings who are alive. And it was to connect myself to the story of my great-grandmother, my grandmother, the people I've met, and the territory, the organization of the territory. To think about, okay, if you put your hut like this, it will give you which connection do you have with the sun? Is it because, just to connect with the gesture, and to go back to the simplicity of the gestures. And it helped me to create this word connected with something true and the fiction.
Wow. You played a number of festivals. I'm curious, what has the reaction been like?
Most of the people who come to me, they love the film. So I didn't had to talk really with haters, for example. So I will say people love the film, but it's just because it's them who went to talk with me and to ask questions. But the first time we showed the film was in Switzerland, in this area where we shot the film, in Vallis. And so it was like a huge pressure, because it was really the history of their parents and grandparents. And the audience was so deeply connected with the film. And I remember like someone telling us like, how I smelled my childhood. I smelled during the film my childhood. And for me was the best gift, because I was like, yeah, this is through the sound. This is through the faces. This is through the colors. This is through all this artistic phases and part that we were creating this universe, and people, they recognized it, even if it was not directly connected to their story. They smelled their childhood, so that was a really powerful moment.
And now the film is Switzerland's submission. What would an Academy Award nomination mean to you?
I mean, it's something huge. It's something, I'm so honored to be here. I'm so proud. I'm so happy for the film, for the team. And I mean, we would love to have this next shortlist place. Will mean that, I don't know, that the film is talking to the people once more. And it's really why I'm doing film also. It's to connect with people. So yeah.
Carmen, what are you working on next?
I'm finishing another feature film now, co-direction with Jan Gassman, another Swiss director, and I'm writing about, yeah, I have few scripts in mind now.
Nice. Well, I look forward to seeing what you do next. Thank you so much for taking the time. Thank you for the film. It's a kind of film that I wanted to watch immediately after I sat through it the first time, and I did, which I rarely do.
Well,
So yes, it's rich and dense, and I think it's beautiful. So thank you so much.
thank you, Frank. Thank you really much for your words.
Thank you.